Hello friends, welcome viewers. This is Shawik Goswami, Senior Assistant Editor, Illus Technomedia. I welcome you all to a special webinar session on governance during Corona. Is technology being the game changer? We have been doing series of webinars in last 15, 20 days during the lockdown because we as a 17-year-old company, perhaps one of the leading B2B media company in India, has been in the forefront when it comes to connecting communities and people together for a knowledge society with the use of innovation and technology. And we didn't stop during the lockdown. We are keeping on continuing with connecting people and communities together. We are doing webinars on education, governance, health, BFSI, um, and governance sector in 30 plus sectors for last 15, 20 days. And we'll be doing a lot of webinars in coming days also. But here today we have a special subject and with special list of guests with us. Our topic is governance in the times of Corona. Is technology the game changer? And for that, we have three special guests with us from three aspect of the society or the governance ecosystem, we can say. We have a policymaker, we have a PSU head, and we have a leading public policy expert. So we'll have a policy perspective, we'll have a PSU perspective, we'll have a technology perspective, and also we'll be having live attendees in this webinar who will be asking questions to our panelists. And to our viewers, we'll be doing Facebook Live. Rather, we are doing Facebook Live of this special webinar on governance during Corona. Is technology being the game changer? So our eGov handle, Illits handle, and all other handles in webinar. To start the webinar, and before I introduce my esteemed guest, we know that extraordinary situation pushes us to come up with extraordinary solutions. And we are now into an extraordinary situation, that is the Corona outbreak and the lockdown. And we know that the lockdown has been extended to 3rd of May. But how the governance is doing, how the governance is moving during this crisis, during the lockdown, how technology has been played a important part in that. To have a detailed discussion on this, we have with us Ajay Chakti, IS Special Secretary, Department of Information Technology, Government of NCT of Delhi. We welcome you, Mr. Chakti. We have Sri George Kuruvilla, Chairman and Managing Director, Broadcast Engineering Consultants India Limited, Basil, a PSU under Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. We welcome Mr. George Kuruvilla. We have a special guest, Vinita Hariharan, a leading public policy expert who has served various international organizations in terms of public policy. Welcome, Vinita. Before we get into the main discussion points of the webinar, I request Mr. Ajay Chakti to give a small introduction about himself and what he has been doing. Mr. Ajay Chakti.
Okay, I'm working not only in IT department, but luckily also in Chief Secretary office. So I have been getting an overview of things, what is happening from central government. We are getting orders from DMs, district magistrates. We are getting feedback from DDMA, that is District Disaster Management Authority. We have been getting feedback. So I have been lucky to have a perspective of both Chief Secretary office as well as IT department. Thank you.
I request Mr. George Kuruvilla, CMD Basil, to give a short brief about his organization, what Basil has been doing for so many years.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. I'm George Kuruvilla, and I have been CMD of this company from 2016. And initially, spent 23 years with All India Radio and Doordarshan, part of Prasar Bharati. And from last 7 years, I'm in Basil. And we are basically into technology implementation end-to-end, both consultancy as well as turnkey implementers of technology. And when we say technology, then all the associated things like the making of the studio, the woodwork, the acoustics, the building, furnishing, and technical equipments, and all those turnkey solutions that we provide. So we are basically the implementers of the solution, and therefore we provide solutions or turnkey projects to various governments, both state and central government and different government departments.
Right. If I can request Ms. Vinita Hariharan, leading public policy expert, to give a short, brief introduction about herself.
Hello, good morning to all of you friends, all of you there, and wishing you safety and health during this extraordinary time that Souvik has just mentioned. I am a public policy expert. I like to call myself a public policy expert, and I have been in this realm of public policy from at least a decade now, before which I was with Housing and Urban Development Corporation for over a decade. After which I decided to do a course in public administration from the Lee Kuan Yew. And post that, I have been with various ministries of Government of India as getting to lead policy formulation and also heading the implementation of the programs that result from these policies, starting from the Ministry of Housing, then with the Ministry of Rural Development, and then with the Ministry of MSME. So in all these ministries, I've held certain leadership positions as a Chief Program Officer of the policies that I got to formulate. So today's webinar, I'll be speaking more from a macro level perspective as to how policies can really impact the use of digital platforms more and more in the coming times to see. Thank you.
Right. So I hope our live attendees have already got a perspective on what our speakers are here for today, and we'll have a divergence view. So as I've said in the beginning of the webinar, that we have a speaker from the policy perspective from Government of Delhi. We have a perspective. We'll have a perspective from a PSU, a technology PSU, and we'll also have a perspective on public policy aspect of the governance. So my first question will be that we know that we're into extraordinary times, and what has been the governance system in India, and or how the governance system in India has responded to this outbreak, to tackle corona outbreak? Mr. Ajay Chakti, what's your view? How the governance system as India has responded to that?
One word would be proactive. We have learned from other countries. We took early action in terms of lockdown, in terms of preventing travel, in terms of even assembly of people. We started with 50 people, then 20 people, then 5 people. So the cutoff kept on reducing. Then it was about tracing, testing. Then in the final, in the last week, it has been about containment zones. So you decide where the hotspot is. You apply CCTV. You use then mobile technology and find out which persons have been coming and going and trace them. And then finally the hospital thing. The PPE, personal protection equipment, has now been coming, and the doctors are now safe. In fact, Delhi government has even announced a scheme that if a doctor has any problems or if he dies, he will be given 1 crore rupees straight. Then we have booked hotels for stay of doctors so that they don't have to go home. So the first responder, that is the doctor, they have been taken care of. Then our SDMs have been in the field. So I think this strategy has been in all states. A phase came when migration happened suddenly. That was unfortunate, but that was checked. So we have responses on field in terms of quick action, and we have response from DDMA, that is Delhi Disaster Management Authority. Such authorities are there in all states, and at the center level, Secretary Home, Government of India is the head of that. Thank you.
Right. If I come to George Kuruvill, CMD of Basil, what is your view on how governance ecosystem has responded to tackle this corona outbreak in India, especially when we see that the so-called developed countries were in shatters, and we see a very timely lockdown announced some time back compared to other countries. So what is your opinion on how governance ecosystem has responded to tackle this crisis?
Yeah, I would say it is extraordinary and a very, very diversified demography that we have. Right from our Honorable Prime Minister to the key ministries, the Health Ministry, including our Information and Broadcasting Minister. He immediately went on to a radio bridge to communicate to all his officers about Deputy Secretary and more than 300 of them, and told them to be calm and to help out in the situation. So he set the tone that under the lockdown, how officers have to respond, and take care of, both emotionally and otherwise of the family and all the responsibilities. And the news channels played a very major role. Doordarshan Prasar Bharati, which is a government of India organ, they rose up, and they conducted talk shows of different eminent personalities and doctors. And time to time, they brought out all what government directives or government orders from time to time. They well communicated across the country and through the newsrooms and through the various regional channels that Doordarshan and All India Radio has. So I think they all scaled up, and under this point of time, they rose up to the occasion. All our engineers and our producers, and they were all in position to run the studios across the country. The transmitters were on. So I would say, as part of information and broadcasting, and as government of India as a whole, the social media platforms of various departments of government, they were very active in communicating their part of it. And as BESL, we actually provide manpower, social media manpower, all to various departments. And we found that they were all working, even from remote areas, from their places, and putting on the social media post as from time to time. So the country has responded very well, and our departments, and everybody has this feeling of pride in serving at this point of time, to be playing some role in the, in the entire dire situation where we have to come back, so to fight the situation, to stand up to the situation. I would say everybody is prepared and everybody has stood up, and I'm sure that all our people, they're ready to, do whatever is assigned to them.
Right, right. Thanks, Mr. George Kuruvilla, for sharing with us your opinion on how the governance ecosystem has responded. Vinita, being a public policy expert, you are analyzing and also going through various public policy initiatives in other countries as well. How do you compare India's preparedness or the way India responded to this particular problem of corona outbreak?
Yeah, I think there has been no other time when governance has been so omnipresent and so, is playing such a vital role in our lives than today. And especially India, I think we've been extremely proactive and responsive and adaptive to this attack, this pandemic. And we were not taken by surprise, so to speak. We were prepared well in advance. And I think this lockdown, though it may seem very harsh and very difficult a time to go through, but I think it's been a very, very forceful, effective public policy initiative of the government of India, I would say. And hats off to them to be so, take such a bold policy initiative. And there has been no other time when a public policy has been so effectively implemented across the country. It has been amazing, except for small issues where the migrant labor issues, yes, there were some issues at that point of time where we could have perhaps been more prepared in terms of that. But in every crisis, there would be, you can't expect a seamless implementation of such a difficult public policy. So I think India has been ahead of its times in terms of responding to this pandemic compared to the Western world, like all of us know. And I think even a city like New York has not been able to cope up with this kind of situation. Whereas we've just shut down at the cost of all other fallouts. We've just shut down. So, which is, I think, the best social vaccine that we could have actually adopted.
Right. So the initial of this webinar has given us a perspective on how governance in India has responded to this present situation of corona. And as Vinita was saying, that even though the best of the cities we know, or the best of the developed countries, have responded poorly, and they're, I must say, they're not doing good in terms of handling corona, whereas in India, as Prime Minister has said today itself, that India has started a lockdown quite early, preempting the situation, and it has also extended now for the betterment of citizens. So the citizens are in the healthier state compared to other countries. With this, we'll divulge into more deeper issues of this governance ecosystem. If I ask Mr. Ajay Chakti, who is into IT department and has been a policymaker for so many years with vast experience, do you think technology has been the game changer when it comes to governance or the government departments responding to this particular menace?
I would say technology has been a force multiplier. Let us talk of e-governance, m-governance, cloud, or even drones. There are practical examples. When this virus struck, we started first with the e-governance part. So when lockdown was implemented, people were asked to apply for passes through WhatsApp or through mobile or through website. So people were able to apply contactless technology, simple. In the second stage, we used those e-systems for relief also. Many people, they did not have ration cards, but they had applied around 6 lakhs. Then some were poor, but did not have ration cards. So they were asked to apply online, around 4 lakh applied. So we had 10 lakh people applying for rations. So a system was devised where some QR code was sent to their mobiles. Certain schools were notified. You could go to these locations and get your ration, show your mobile QR code, and targeted delivery of services could be ensured. This was one aspect. Similarly, when it came to next phase, containment phase, you had certain people who were quarantined, but they were moving out. So their call records were checked by the police, the locations where they have gone to. For example, Markaz. So a particular person was found to have gone there. So he had infected members of his family also. So you could select such people, you could quarantine them further, you could watch them. And when it came to public, drones were really helpful. For containment zone, you just have a drone, you come to know which areas are having people violating prohibitory orders. Police cannot go on to every lane by lane, etc. These were then also used, drones were also used for sanitation, sanitizing. So this sanitizing by drone is about 50 times efficient than human sanitizing. And it is fast also. It is consistent also. Now we are testing drones for infrared temperature measurement. For example, if there is a group of people, infrared rays will check what is the temperature of a particular person. If it is beyond a certain range, he or she will be selected for further testing. That is one group methodology which is being tested. Now coming to cloud. Cloud has certain aspects, like one is video conferencing, one is education. Now video conferencing has seen the biggest expansion, whether it is conferences by Honorable LG, Honorable CM or the Chief Secretary with district magistrate, etc. It has knit the Delhi team in one. It has ensured that orders are communicated properly and feedback is received quickly. Apart from this video conferencing, our Honorable Deputy CM has also announced that students will receive messages from on their mobiles. They will have links to lessons and they can then do their exercises at home. In advanced countries, of course, we have 5G and you have massive open online courses. In private sector also these are there, but not so well advanced in our 2G to 4G type of systems. Anyway, so we have seen m-governance, e-governance and cloud governance and cloud telephony. Now, when it comes to containment zone, this is an interesting perspective. Dilshad Garden was there, so a containment zone was there. Now, people were not observing. How did the health team, they called it SHIELD formula, designated as that. So they went and saw the CCTV movement. CCTV helped in seeing the movement of people. Then mobile records were checked. People who were quarantined, their movement was checked, their GPS location was checked, and if somebody had violated, they were counseled to take care. Now, all these things are fine, but ultimately, relief has been the biggest issue. 35,000 laborers were transferred money through e-payment system in one day. On Saturday, a cabinet decision was taken that all license holders, PSV badge holders, that is public service vehicle. So all these drivers, they should also be benefited. There are around 3 lakh plus of these drivers. So they have been applying yesterday. Software was developed in-house in 3 days. It was developed, tested, and accepted. Now in 3 days, when we go by tender, we take 3 months. So that is how the government has been working in every sphere. Thank you.
Right. I will take a cue what Mr. Ajay Chakti has said at the very end of his opinion. I think we'll discuss on that. I will touch that aspect. Before that, I'll come to Mr. George Kuruvilla. Mr. George, what is your opinion on when it comes to rendering citizen services, especially during this lockdown? How technology has played an important role? Especially if you talk about the new age technologies, and as Mr. Ajay Chakti was also mentioning, what is your opinion on that? Because you're having a PSU which is providing technological solutions to various government departments and agencies.
Yes, so as you would know, and Chakti Sahab has been saying, one of the biggest challenge in any government department is that even if they know that there is a technology and there is a service, how to acquire it, how to place a work order or place a order, to a particular company and to a set of people and get those services. So we have been, always very proactively there, as Chakti Saab has already mentioned. Let us say, as a drone is one of the things that have been used in a very, very proactive manner. We have seen in Kerala, in one of the drones, that they could see the vast lands of field where people were gathered. And as soon as the drone came in, they all ran back to their own houses. So drone had been used in very congested areas and lanes, to check out how the movement of the people. And so when we talk about drone, it is that, there have to be people who are trained how to use the drone. People should know, okay, where all drone can be used, what height it can be used, what should be the weight or the maximum weight of the drone which can be used, because it's also a very security risk. And also that DGCA permissions have to be there to operate in a particular area. So all those related issues, the operative part of it, that is where I think we play a role, and the public sectors come into pitch into there, that they take the ownership or responsibility of this technology and the entire delivery part of it, the technology delivery to the various government department. So also like we said, the cameras are there, certain the vestibules have to be created. All these areas, the people have to be there, the companies have to be there, the products to be there, somebody has to integrate it, and the government department has to place the work orders, everything these days by government's order. Even the the invoices are accepted online, no signed invoices or no the original invoice is required to make payment to the respective clients or to the respective vendors. So such kind of facilitation has happened, and we have released salaries of a lot of contracts workers who are with us. Presently more than 10,000 people, our own contract roles with Basel have been provided to different departments. So my biggest challenge was that, okay, have to give them salaries in time. And so the bankers, they came around, and I told them that I'll give you WhatsApp message on the email, which my finance team sends. I'll give a WhatsApp message and give my approval on WhatsApp. They accepted it. So such kind of, so everybody scaled up so that, the salaries doesn't stop, the payments do not stop. It was March end, a lot of financial closing, the payments to be made and payments to be received,
I guess there is some audio problem with Mr. George Kuruvilla. Hello.
So everybody scaled up, and the technology planks, they rose up, to use those online. Can you hear me now?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think some audio problem with Mr. George Kuruvilla. Hello. Mr. Chakti, Vinita, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
I think some audio problem with Mr. George. Yeah, so can we have a perspective from Vinita? Vinita, what's your opinion that how technology innovation is playing an important part in this governance, especially during the lockdown and tackling the corona outbreak?
Yeah, absolutely. Like Ajay sir and others have also spoke, and George has just mentioned about how systematically we have actually gone about this whole, tackling this pandemic. Because in a country like India, otherwise we would have just been completely swamped by this crisis. And it's amazing how such a densely populated country like ours has responded so systematically. I think it's a very effective display of public policy using digital platforms, latest technologies, using our technocrats and bureaucrats to the best of their abilities to come in, all come in and pitch in and intervene in this crisis. And like every disruption, will give rise to a new world order, so to speak. So I think this crisis globally will give rise to a new world order, which is going to be digital platforms. Going from here, I think we'll see more and more use of digital platforms to support governance initiatives, as well as for many other initiatives. And in life itself, we are going to see the play out of such digital mediums more and more. And we were anyway at the cusp of a digital revolution in our country. With 500 million internet subscribers and 1.2 billion mobile phone users, I think we are really, really ahead of the digital curve. So this is the right time to, actually make use of these platforms, because it's also very cost effective and very, very clean means of, in terms of clean energy. We're also contributing a lot to save the planet by using such digital platforms, with minimum risks to climate, etc. But given that, we cannot, of course, kind of replace brick and mortar with digital platforms. So that is something that we need to keep in mind, because a lockdown cannot be forever. Of course, everybody knows that. But then we can always minimize the use of brick and mortar processes, and use technology at the best, and to maximize the use of technology, while minimizing use of brick and mortar in terms of unnecessary transport, unnecessary travel, business travel, just like we were talking before this VC started. So I think this will set a good trend going from here. If we can actually have very carefully designed policies coming from henceforth from here onwards, where digital platforms will become a sine qua non, or at least a mandatory provision in every public program or public policy. I think going from here, that's going to be a very important takeaway from this entire crisis.
So I think what Vinita is trying to focus is that use of digital platforms more and more for governance, and especially when it comes to rendering citizen services to citizen for the last mile delivery, which we have been speaking for last 10-15 years. We are talking about e-governance for last 10-15 years. It has been a long but very fruitful journey for e-governance in India. Yeah, Vinita. Yeah.
Sorry, if I were to just complete that, when you said last mile, so when it comes to digital infrastructure at down below, from the national level, of course, we have the best of the infrastructure. Then we go to the state, of course, yes, but then go down to district and block. I think there may be many, many challenges that they face in terms of actually provision of digital infrastructure. So while I was even implementing missions earlier with rural development, etc., I've gone through very, very far-flung areas in the northeastern regions and in Jammu Kashmir, etc. So they're actually challenged in terms of technology. They still haven't got the basic infrastructure in place. So I think after this crisis, what we need to take care is to provide infrastructure across the country, through especially taking care of our northeastern states and the Himalayan states, and also challenged smaller class 2, class 3, class 4 towns in terms of provision of infrastructure, digital infrastructure specifically so.
And I think what Vinita has been saying, I can see some of the panel, some of the attendees are asking those kind of questions. We'll come to that part.
Yeah.
There are some questions asked by the attendees in our panel chat and Q&A section. We'll come to that in the later half of the webinar. I think Mr. George Courier is back with us. I think there was some network issue with him. If I may ask you, Mr. Kuruvilla, that in these difficult times, and since you are a technological solution provided to various government agencies and PSUs, is there any assistance which has been asked from your PSU for various ministries? And if they have been asked, what kind of technology you're looking at providing to those government agencies?
So the different department has been asking, mainly one of the major item is the thermal camera. They are looking at, when the offices open up, apart from, of course, the sanitizers and the, the face mask and other things, they would require, those vestibules, through which people pass by and they can be sanitized, and also those thermal cameras to check up the temperatures. And also, in some places, if suppose an area has to be geo-fenced, there are technologies available whereby, those hotspots can be geo-fenced, whereby if you really want to strictly implement, any person who is crossing that geographical area, an alarm comes to the control room that somebody has crossed, through that area. And if somebody, like we were talking about, if somebody is quarantined, then, in Rajasthan, we have seen, every morning and evening, there were some volunteers who were taking a, snapshot of them and, telling to the authority that they have not moved from the location. Those things can be, using GPS and using those special watches that we can provide them. We can actually monitor their movement. We can monitor their temperature remotely sitting at a control room. So such kind of, slowly those requests have started coming in. And, we are, already online and paneling, OEM companies, that is equipment companies, providers and system integrators, manufacturers, so that we bring the whole ecosystem together, so that as soon as the opportunity comes, we are able to scale up and implement those, these systems in places in different departments.
Like, as Mr. Kuruvilla was saying that geofencing and those thermal masks, all those things, taking cue from what Mr. Kuruvilla has said, that what kind of solutions basically is trying to provide to government departments during this period, especially keeping in mind the need of the hour for the government departments, especially who are working on ground to tackle this. What kind of new age technological intervention do you see will be useful or is being useful to handle the situation, Mr. Chakti? Because we're talking about newest technologies like AI, blockchain and everything, especially AI and all these things are to be used during this hour of crisis. With this, after what we hear from Mr. Chakti, we'll come to Mr. Kuruvilla.
Okay. See, there is AI, blockchain, big data, cloud, etc. First thing is 5G technology. Now we are somehow lacking in it. We are behind. For example, you have a robot. In China, these were used. In US, these were used. They are going to patients. They are delivering food. They are delivering medicines. They are collecting trash and coming back. So there is no contact with humans that way. This is one aspect. As regards AI, artificial intelligence has been used in China, in Wuhan, etc. Now, one example was of detecting the RNA, that is ribonucleic acid, RNA secondary structure. Now, normally it takes 55 minutes or so to test, study and predict. They did it in 27 seconds on an average with the help of AI algorithms. That is one example. So with this, your speed increased by 120 times. That is just one example. Another is genome-based platform where you can test. So researchers, scientific institutions, they just send their data, get it checked up. This is backed by big data. So your big data, simple example, when there was some migration, there was a mobile app. The Chinese could download it and see which area has seen migration just by your mobile details. How did it help? It could give you an idea where the next wave of corona infection could spread. That was one phase. Similarly, coming to this blockchain, China developed, one company developed a system where epidemic could be monitored. The chain could be traced. The advantages of blockchain, you know, are it cannot be tampered with so easily. Almost it cannot, we can say that it can hardly be tampered, number one. It gives you traceability. Now in these times, we need chain also. Who was in contact with whom? Who could have spread to whom? So that type of data was built with blockchain. It was very useful for policymakers to find out areas where the intervention is desired. So all these technologies have been used. In India, one aspect is the number of cases are not so many as of now. We have been able to tackle manually as of now. Some images, etc., they are being tested. In China, they were even far advanced. The CT images, the CT scan images, they were analyzed by artificial intelligence, and probable sources, probable areas, probable persons with infections were identified. So there is a whole gamut of possibilities. We just need to have ideas. Thank you.
Right. As Mr. Chakti was saying, giving reference of other countries, and he spoke about the importance of 5G. I'll come to Mr. Kuruvilla. Mr. Kuruvilla, we know that, and I know that your organization is quite active in using the newest technology like AI, big data, and everything. What's your opinion that how we can use this kind of technology, new technology solutions more and more, especially keeping in mind we are in unprecedented times and we have to come up with unprecedented solutions to address this present situation?
Yeah. So as you rightly said, you know, when we look at development of these technologies and how we can customize it to, you know, different department as per the need of the hour. In this particular virus, you know, the coronavirus, the problem is there is not much data available, the past data available. So for any artificial intelligence, the technology to work, it is very important that you have got a set of data. Now, we as a country, you know, when the lockdown has happened, that's what government is now basically looking at, is how different areas are behaving. Something is done, how, you know, it is spreading, what is the action taken and what is the result. And as we cover up to the month end, you know, a lot of data from different areas will be collected. And once these are collected, you know, then it can be used, the technology can be used, you know, to come out with analytics of it, you know, that if we take such a decision, this is helpful in such a situation. So all this is, you know, because we have been suddenly, we have come into this situation, but as we move on, we will start working, and, you know, there'll be different teams working on how to develop customized solution, you know, to address this specific issue, both in terms of, you know, containment, as well as Chakti Saab has been saying, you know, saying that how the delivery systems can be improved, how those connectivities, you know, where very poor people are there, they do not have smartphones, how to reach out to them. And all those, you know, kinds of things we'll have to continue to work on. And I think as part of government, you know, we have to do a whole lot of work in digitization of our document. Every company, including us and all the government department, now will have to seriously look into that the things which are there in the files, we have to, you know, fish out those important orders, documents, you know, time to time, what is need to have a, you know, every organization need to have the historical background of what decisions were taken, what orders were issued, what action was taken in a situation, and have those digital document, you know, in our library, and to make it available on a secure cloud. Now today we find that, a lot of our finance data, it's all there in our office in Noida Sector 62. We are not able to access this because, we didn't think of, making it available because of security reason to anybody on their own personal laptops. But now we have realized that, okay, now next time on, as we get little time, that at least few officers should have all their data in a locked condition in a secure environment in the respective, environment. And so also, like digital signatures, the bank, if I have to provide them, performance bank guarantee to a company to procure, the banks will require performance bank guarantee, how to now physically do it. So the digital signatures, the approvals online, keeping the printers handy wherever required, the scanners handy, and use, these WhatsApp scanners also, to provide, those signed data, to the respective organization to, and they consider that as to be a valid document, to process a file. So I think this is a time to retrospect also, that when we get little opportunity after this, lockdown, that we immediately scaled up into, and make it e-office processing, that is giving approvals online, having all the document digital, important document digital available on a platform, and put on those ERP solutions and, human resource management solutions in offices, different offices, so that we scale up in such a, times to immediately, be providing the services seamlessly at this point of time. And there are, many audio video kind of, startup companies which are working on that. They have those video tools, and they are combining it, with the different technologies that, they can put an environment with that looks an office environment. So even if 10 or 20 people are collaborating, work together, they are on a platform as if, they are sitting in the same office environment and working, chatting. So they have the online delivery apps, online, classes going on, and, the chat happening, and, the discussions happening, and people can see each other. And even when they're walking along, they on their mobile, they can be talking. So they can be, real time systems, available. Such kind of, startup companies I've already looking at, those technologies which can be used, because it's very important. A lot of, the errors can happen when we are talking one-on-one, but when we talk in a collaborative manner, sometime, we cannot just stop our projects. We have to continue to complete our projects, and, do businesses. Different companies will have to, all the public sectors will have to. So we have to, have these technology to work collaboratively, and have those, apps with us, which are collaborative in nature, and we seamlessly can work. So this is, the way forward that I look at. A lot of work now we have in hand, that we need to catch up for any next, eventuality, if at all, God forbid such comes. But then, if, in future, this will be the new normal.
Right, right. And we know some countries, like Ajayji was mentioning about China, I can mention about Israel, and the way they're using AI and other newest technologies for even individual mapping. I think time has come for India also to use those kind of technology for individual mapping, where he's going, and that should be connected with the app. Uh, they're also divided into zones, whether he's in green zone or yellow zone or red zone. So I think time
Yes,
has
yes.
come for those kind of solutions also to be implemented. I know India is huge; it's a big country, 130 crore
Yes.
plus population. But I think in coming months or coming years, this has to be the new norm of uh, tackling this kind of issues. That, as we are seeing that this outbreak has helped us, or the smart cities, also to give focus more on telemedicine health. We know telemedicine is part of one of the condition of building smart cities, but now they're all working in
Yes.
integrated way. The smart cities, the commissioners, the administrators are using their command control center for tackling this virus. So I think, as I have said in the very beginning, that extraordinary time actually results in extraordinary steps, and for the betterment of human society for future. Just taking from where you have left, I'll come to Vinita. Vinita, do you think, being a public policy expert, the time has come to give a rethink or to re-strategize when it comes to making public policy for the future, so that we keep in mind all the happenings, what's happening now, so that in future, if this kind of situation arises, we can tackle those problems, because adequate policies will be in place.
Absolutely. I think Mr. George had really mentioned very, very good points about how we should go forward in terms of actually having these kind of technologies available on a personal level as well, and this is also a big public policy initiative that we need to take care of. And so all, like I mentioned earlier, all public programs and policies would mandatorily need to have digital platforms as something that we need to provide, along with provision of other amenities that we're doing through these programs. So the digital platforms will become a very essential feature of all our public policy initiatives. And just to take on from where Mr. George and Mr. Ajay spoke, in terms of what we learned from this pandemic, technology now, I mean, whatever data that we've gathered through this crisis, I think we have a lot of data now coming on in terms of what is the health infrastructure availability per capita or, area-wise in our country. So I think we should make use of this. And then, like I said, technology can only play a role to a certain extent, but we also need to have brick and mortar structures. We need to have our health infrastructure in place. So once this data is available, we need to actually ensure that there is equitable distribution of health facilities across our country, like the Kerala model, where every ward or every block has a dispensary, has a primary healthcare facilities. We can't ignore that. I know the discussion is about how technology is so important, but how can we use this technology to actually perhaps map our country, and in terms of what is the availability of health infrastructure across the districts, wards, blocks, and then accordingly provide for such facilities at every level. And again, technology is a big leveler. It brings everybody in one level playing field. So I think this is also a good opportunity where a lot of red tapeism can be actually cut through technological platforms, like George just now mentioned about having having performance guarantees done online. That's amazing. Public-private partnerships. Why hasn't it worked today in India so much? Is because of the red tapeism, and why the public and private have not been able to converge so seamlessly. But I think technology going forward will play a great role in seamlessly integrating all the players into one platform. And I think it will hopefully cut many layers of bureaucracy. And when you talk of e-office, I've also worked in the government for long, and also working now largely with the government of India. So when you talk of e-office, of course, hats off to NIC for bringing about e-office, and for also to the government of India for implementing it across all ministries and all departments. But in many ways, they've actually replicated a lot of the, bureaucracy, physical bureaucracy to e-bureaucracy. So, to be very candid, I think that there's also a need to rectify attitudes, There is also a need to modify our bureaucratic kind of baggage that we carry from the colonial times. So that, I think, has to be also reflected in the digital platform. So you can't just replicate your bureaucracy onto digital platforms and then again have those layers. And so I think there is a need for a balanced approach, a holistic approach. And digital cannot be a panacea for all our ills, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah,
I think when Vanita was speaking about this bureaucracy, I saw a smile in Mr. Chakti's face. I think Mr. Chakti is eager to respond to that. We can have a view from Mr. Chakti.
Just a candid viewpoint,
When she was referring to e-office,
yeah,
I have knowledge about experience of certain states. So e-office gets slow if you have not updated your Java, your software, etc. Number one. Number two, e-office, if it has lots of scanned pages, it will get slow. Its connectivity with the headquarters will get slow. You will get frustrated when it just goes and circulates.
Right.
And one state had to issue an order that when you send e-file, you will also send the physical file. What is happening practically is that it is being printed out. Entire thing is being printed out on e-office. Whatever is written, that is separate thing. It is read in, things are read in hard copies. It is important to understand that as people get old, their eyes are not able to respond to such things. So scanning is the critical aspect. If you go without scanning, if your files are not bulky, your e-office is accepted.
So I think what I'll take a middle path. What Vinita and Mr. Chakti has said. I think NIC is doing a remarkable job, no doubt about it. It has been the backbone of technology when it comes to governance. I think we have to use e-office or other solutions provided for government with much more. And I think what Mr. Chakti has said is also about the problem of the mindset in the government ecosystem. So we have to change our mindset also that we have to go digital because entire world is going digital. But rightly, as Vinita has said, that there has to be a balance of going digital and also the physical and human touch to it. So I think changing mindset and also using digital platform more and more, that is the future. And as Mr. Chakti has said initially, when I told that I'll discuss about this later, I think he has pointed a very important part that when he has said that when there are things which could have been done for 6 months, 10 months, 12 months, 3 months through the tender process, it's being done in 2 and 3 days. So it's not that it cannot be done. So
Yes.
I think when all these things are over, I think Mr. George will also support me when I say that in future, I think there will be some services, some procurement which can happen in couple of days time, which are part of essential services, because this time is actually throwing that light that yes, things can be done in 2 days, 1 day. You don't have to wait for a tedious tendering process for 6 months, 12 months to go on. I think that is also an eye-opener. I think that will be a learning from all of us. I think we have come to the part of the very important part of this webinar, that we have already got various questions up in Q&A section and the chat section. But before I ask all of you to go through the questions and reply to some of the questions, there is a special question I can see in the chat section that it's from Nepal. Mr. Krishna Kumar has written that I am from Kathmandu, Nepal. Is the governance policies applicable in countries like India relevant for small country like Nepal? I think any of you can answer on that.
Yeah, I think it's. Can I just give my bit on this? Yeah. So no, I read that question even earlier. So I don't think it's the scale is so. I mean, of course, scale is important, but when we talk of platforms, digital platforms, if it's small or big, it's equally applicable in all countries. So this kind of solutions will work in any size or scale, provided you have the necessary infrastructure. So if Nepal has its digital infrastructure in place, I think these technological solutions will work very well. Because a small state like Kerala, how it has flattened the curve, it's amazing. It's just through public policy initiatives. So I don't think it's the size that matters here.
Right, and I can see another question in the chat section. We'll come to Q&A section with all of you. There is a question is that it's referred to Mr. Chakti's initial statement. Somebody has asked Mr. Chakti that all the technology named by Mr. Ajayji is only found in metros and big cities, which is a minuscule of population. What about technology in rural areas? What has been done for better accommodation of technology in rural area and yield the result? I think very important, but we touched on that, reaching to the last mile. If Mr. Chakti can answer that.
Definitely, yes. First of all, drones, etc., if you are talking of, they are required only in congested places. In rural areas, the density is not much. That type of monitoring of prohibitory orders may not be required. Now, as regards cloud, for example, telemedicine, there are other options also for rural areas. You have WhatsApp, you have excellent optic fiber network throughout the country now. You can simply send images of the things. It may not be so dynamic, but definitely the receiver can analyze, the doctor can examine and can send his comments or call you up or give you appointments also. So all is not lost. Rural areas have issues in infrastructure, definitely yes. Vinita pointed it out earlier, but we cannot say that technology cannot be helpful there.
Yeah.
Mr. George, what will be your opinion that someone has asked that what about, we're talking about deploying technology in urban areas, what about going to rural areas? I think it is being done. It is being done, but we can.
So it is. You see, one of the most important thing is to have the connectivity, that is broadband connectivity, to use all these services that we are talking about, different digital platform. Government of India, under its own, big plan, which is being implemented by another PSU called BBNL, Bharat Broadband Nigam Limited. They are, are connecting 2 lakh villages, 2.5 lakh villages of our country, through broadband, and the process is on. And, so nowadays there are technologies which are available that today, and very small bandwidth, that is even if somebody has got a 2G connection, even then, they are able to transmit videos from that location. Nowadays, a lot of our channels are using those small backpacks, and including their mobile phones with very low connectivity, 2G connectivity, but they're able to send the videos because of the technical, availability of, highly efficient technology of transmission through the internet. So such are already implemented, and we are further implementing it. And as India is a huge country, we are talking about 6 lakh villages. So even after we cover 2.5 villages, there are lots of clusters which we'll need to cover. And in future, the satellite and the broadband and the radio frequency, all three mode, have to be used together, to implement this into the last mile. Already the work is in progress. Government of India is doing, in all the different departments, they're doing a huge task in connecting the whole country. Even telemedicine reaching through 2G connection, you can able to get all the parameters done through a mobile handset. And, their blood can be tested, their everything can be tested just by a drop of blood on a particular, a slide. It can actually test it all and send all the data to a hospital, to the district hospital, where the doctors can see all the blood profile, the lipid profile, and, give the medication to understand at least, whether he needs hospitalization or a simple medicine can be able to help. So I feel, we are already there as a country technology wise, but there's a lot need to be done. And definitely so that there are technologies available, even with the present bandwidth availability, we'll be able to reach them audio and video signals, both two-way communication to them.
Right.
Just like to, sorry, can I just come in here? Yeah, there was this mission that I was implementing with the Rural Development Ministry called the RU Urban Mission, which is providing rural, urban amenities in rural areas. So which included health, housing, sanitation, solid waste management, and now even digital connectivity was one of the essential services that we were trying to bring in clusters of villages in rural areas. So going from here, that will become one of the essential services like Roti, Kapda, Makan and broadband. Now it's going to be fourth, sine qua non, fourth ESMA would be digital infrastructure now going from here. So I think all policies and programs will have to provide for this essentially along with the other basic services.
I think what Vanitha has said, that rural urban policy, I know it was Minister of Rural Development. There are a lot of initiatives being taken in various districts. I think in there also we can have use of technology, like you talked about broadband. We know there are clusters in urban areas that were looking for handicraft or handloom artisans. There we can actually have a video conferencing kind of thing where a marketing expert can give them some gyan on being how to market your products to a globalized market. I think those can be thought about. And I think there's an interesting question in the chat section. We have not come to Q&A part yet, but I think we'll come to that. There's a question from Mr. Kannan Santhanam. He has asked that, how do we compare the technology used in Wuhan and in Delhi? Like they are asking targeted beneficiaries to come to school. Since they are targeted, why did not the ration reach them, including migrants? I think Mr. Chaktikan answered this. So I think what he's trying to say, that instead of providing everything to the citizens, asking them to come and collect it, why don't we create a mechanism where government reaches out to them?
First of all, I must tell that, inform that Delhi government has been delivering services for more than a year. We call it doorstep delivery.
Right. I think more than 90%
already
are there.
But when we talk of ration, it is a physical thing. lot of planning is to be done. It involves not only manpower, it involves planning, routes, vehicles, then you have to think of the technology backup, the designing part. So this is under consideration. It is not that we have not, it is not that we have ignored it. First part was immediate relief. As you get time, you plan for that also. Thank you.
Right. Now we can come to the Q&A section. And I think there are a lot of questions. I can see more than 15, 20 questions. I think some questions are asked to Ajay ji, some questions are asked to Vinita, some questions are asked to George, Mr. George Kuruvilla. I think you can go through it and you can choose some of the questions and you can answer. I hope you can access the Q&A section.
Somebody has asked, Pooja, any new role within government you see in this scenario or required in future? Yeah, I mean, I don't know what she means by new role. Is it human resources? Then I think we have to really provide for people who are competent in IT now. I think they'll have larger roles to play in government going from here. A lot of IT specialists would be required in the government. I think you agree with me, Mr. George and Mr. Chakti. There would be a lot of IT specialists required now.
Yes, sure. Definitely so, yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So there is one, Mr. Satya Prakash, who has asked the question that now time has come to work in integrated approach with research labs, institutions, universities, hospitals, social organizations, and corporate as well to fight this situation and ready for future also. So I fully agree with Mr. Satya Prakash. Though government makes efforts in the working collaboration, but now this is the biggest lesson that we are now learning, that we have to, there is no other option. But this particular, the time has taught us that there is no other option than, that everybody work together. The research lab, the education institutes, the government departments, the public sector of, companies which implement, the private companies which are working on different technologies, to come together and work on specific projects, to deliver a customized solution for specific areas of which the country requires. That is, the time has definitely come. And, the Press Information Bureau of our own Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, every day they're having a press conference in Ministry of INB, whereby one joint secretary level officer from Ministry of Home Affairs, and the other one who is from Joint Secretary from Ministry of Health, and third one from ICMR. Every day they are, briefing the press about what, where we are as far as this COVID-19 epidemic is concerned. What are we doing? What actions government is taking? What rules or MHAs have given guidelines? All those, the three of them. So the four departments have come together to, to deal or to, connect with the people through the, through the television channels, especially Doordarshan and other channels which are covering live, news programs. So it's a collaborative effort, and so also in development of technology, we'll all have to work together. That's the only way forward.
Yeah, and I think there's a question which I can see Mr. Ajay Chakti can answer to that. What are the privacy and data security issues that need to be addressed? Mr. Chakti, if you can respond to that.
Sorry, I missed it. What is the
privacy and data security issues that need to be addressed?
Yeah, that is very important question. When you were talking of earlier regarding mobile technologies, etc., tracing people, tracking people, etc., the issue came in my mind also regarding facial technologies. China has not only used mobile, but also facial technologies. That was very important. Now, keeping a mobile, having a mobile, and you are quarantined, you cannot actually guarantee that the person is at home. He may leave his mobile, but go on a walk. So you have to combine mobile technologies with your facial recognition technologies. Now, that has been done in China, but the issue comes now, what about privacy? Can we accept in a country like ours that we will be tracked day in and day out? Our data privacy bill is there. Consent issue is there. Now, without consent, to what extent can you allow yourself to be traced, tracked, And that is a question which a larger body of experts has to answer.
Right, right. I think a lot of questions we can have those questions mailed to you, and that can be sent back to all of you. And before we conclude this webinar, thanks to all of you, which has been an insightful webinar. If I ask all of you one line, where do you see the future of governance? What are the learnings can be from this kind of situation? Learning of governance in India, courtesy Corona outbreak. Mr. George Kuruvilla.
So we were discussing even before we started off this webinar between ourselves. One thing is that, there'll be a new normal. We generally would prefer that for any meeting, for any seminar, for any discussion, that physically officers or the staff to come together and sit across, talk to each other, and thereby take decisions or convey to them the decisions. Now, some of the departments, started doing video conferencing, but even now, the large part of work happens through physical meetings. That will definitely change as we are now presently using the technology. We will save, as Ms. Vinita was talking about, we will save a lot of fuel, lot of these hotel expenses, lot of this traveling, and by using this technology, even for our routine works in the future, this is a big learning which is coming through this, that how we can use the technology, just not for this kind of a pandemic situation or a disaster management times, but even for our routine works, we use more of a technology so that we save our environment, we save our money, in the wasting through, movement and traveling, and very precious time of people, when we move from one office to one place to another, a lot of our time gets involved in that. So the manpower, man hours, so to say, of senior officers and staff of the government and others, private sector also can be saved. We were looking at, big companies, US based and all, they used to, their staff used to work from home. But in our government departments, still now we don't have this kind of a provision. I think we'll have to work on this, that how the attendances can be marked, how many hours that he have worked on the system, all that, when these big companies are doing it, and, giving the work to them and getting the output in that particular timeline, and accordingly, marking their attendances and their work output. I think somewhere, we have to be ready for that kind of time also, where, we can do work from home in many places, where especially our women staff, they are with small kids, they can work from home till such time the kid reaches to the play school. These are few things perhaps we'll have to think, and, policy wise, as Madam had said, we'll have to have those policies so that we facilitate, such kind of, using of technology, for the working of even the government departments.
Right, right. Mr. Chakti, what's your view on the future of governance system in India? What can be the learning? If I ask you to give it in 2-3 sentences.
Use technology more and more, number one. Number two, have contingency plans.
Ms. Vinita Hariharan, your end note for the future of governance system in India.
Yeah, I would say maximize technology to realize human outcomes. So that's what I would try to articulate it that way.
I think a very important question has come. I think before we end, I think some of you can answer this. Someone has asked, is this the right time for Government of India to change its rule of procurement as per GFR guidelines and make faster IT-based infra available on large scale? Very pertinent question.
I would agree. And you see, a lot of our officers, including when I look at my own company, a lot of our officers are very scared to take decisions on files, because, they are always scared of, whether I'm, one rule or the other, I'm, breaking that rule, and tomorrow audit will, point out, or some other government department, whether it is the CBI or the Enforcement Directorate or any other, government agencies that look into these kinds of things. If somebody makes a fractious complaint and, in fractious complaint, and we are all into it. But I always been a strong believer of that. If we are government officers, we are supposed to have that integrity, and it should be taken for granted that yes, if he is a government officer, he must be an honest officer. And the people, the officers everywhere, they have to rise up and to show themselves not only in what they talk, but in all their behavior, to make themselves, transparent and available. Then we can, go ahead with these kinds of decision making. Using many times, we have to use our discretion to take the right decision. Many times, the L1 business does not work in our company, but because somebody has quoted a very low price, because of a government situation, how to do away with L1 person and, go to L2, because L2 is rightly priced and right solution. So such kind of, GFR changes will have to happen, where power should be given to, if not one person, but to a panel of, a team of 5 people, in which finance, legal and technical and the administrative head of the department, they can form and take decisions in tendering process, to bring the right solution at the right price, rather than just timidly, just looking at the L1 and, saying that, okay, what can we do now? We have to scrap it, we have to retender it. And sometimes we waste, months and months of time, in implementation of the project. So the biggest thing today in our country is, in government department, to timely execute a project. I'm a very strong votary of it, where officers should come up. And I think government has always said it, if you have you have the right intention, they should be protected from any kinds of attack that comes to them from any quarter. And if that kind of assurance comes, through a documented, a rule, then officers will come up and stand quick, take quick decisions, take right decision, and go ahead, implement the projects in time.
Right.
Yeah, I think this is the right opportunity to also, like George had just mentioned, Mr. George, that procurement, it's the right time to simplify procurement processes, because it's a nightmare in the government to actually go through a public procurement process. And the amount of printouts and hard copies that people desire, volumes and volumes of tenders coming to offices, I think that should be completely scrapped. It should be all through means, digital means of submission should be the norm. Going forward, should be mandatory that you should have only digital means of submissions and digital means of analysis, presentations, and result declaration also.
I think what Mr. George has said and what Ms. Vrita is saying, I think that part has been taken care by a thing called community marketplace, James. But I think a lot of things needs to be done. A lot more things needs to be done, and I think this discussion will go on. And I think the biggest learning for me as an individual, as a citizen of this country, is that we have seen in the past when there was demonetization, we saw how quickly all of us shifted to the digital payment system. Even a guy who's a vegetable vendor selling vegetable on cart, he quickly moved to some digital mode. I think what Mr. George Kuruvilla or Mr. Ajay Chakti and Ms. Vanita Harinan has said, that future is technology, but we have to see that technology used in a balanced way with the brick and mortar. And obviously, the learning of this will be that how we can apprehend the future debacles, so that we can prepare. We can take the example of Netherlands. We know it's a cycling country, but there's a long history behind that. 200 years back, something happened which ensured Netherlands, they become the cycling country in the world. So I think that has been the learning. And I think Corona outbreak, Government of India, all the ministries, all departments are working wonderfully to tackle this situation. We must applaud the role of NIC has been played as a backbone of governance IT ecosystem. And also the people who are working on ground zero, the health experts, the medical workers, the police force, they're working wonderfully. I think our heart goes out to them. And I hope India as a whole, as a country, united, will come out of this crisis soon. Before we end, I just want to take a minute of yours. Mr. Chakti, Vanita, and Mr. George, I'll ask you one line, something about ILITS Techno Media. For last 17 years, we have been advocating the importance of innovation and technology for good governance to public events and magazines. Mr. Chakti.
The focus is on
ILITS. Yeah, ILITS. One word about ILITS.
Wonderful. Wonderful job. I have been learning from ILITS.
I
Thank you
would,
so much,
yeah,
Mr. Kuruvilla.
I would add, yes, I would, that elites have been doing a great job. In fact, I have been in touch for more than 4 years and maybe 5 years, and speaking in different forums. See, to the companies that they need to focus. So they are focused on IT, the health, the education, and the smart cities. These are the important things they focus way back 12 years, 13 years when they started working on it. Not only the magazines that come in, but having seminars from time to time, class, the bureaucratic class and the private sector together, and enable them to interact, have a networking, to know each other and what can be done. I think this is a great job. Elites is doing it. You must keep doing it, and continue to build on more such kinds of activities, so that more implementation happens.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kuruvilla. Vinita, your take on us, on elites.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful job and a great platform that you're providing for all kinds of stakeholders to participate and discuss on issues that are so pertinent and relevant to the times. I think going forward, you'll have a great role to play coming in times to come, because digital is going to be the new norm. So I would request that you have more and more such discussions more frequently, so that we can keep the debate alive.
Right. Thank you so much. I know as the time has passed more than an hour and we had a fruitful discussion. I hope all the attendees who attended this webinar have something to learn, something take away, and we'll be preparing the webinar report. We'll be circulating that also. And entire webinar has been broadcasted in Facebook, also YouTube channels, and we'll be sharing the entire video with our stakeholders as well. And before I conclude, I must say that as you all have said, that elites have been instrumental in connecting communities and people for last 17 years in India and abroad through our knowledge sharing platforms like events, conferences, our magazines, our portals, our 4 magazines, eGov, eHealth, Digital Learning, and the Banking and Finance Post, and also a new magazine, HR. And also we have a Elites Academy, where we're trying to start online education classes and everything. So we are trying to connect all of you, all the communities together, all the stakeholders of the governance, health, education, 30+ sectors. And we hope that we'll continue to connect all of you even during the lockdown period through our webinars, and we won't stop. The show must go on, and show will go on. And I would like to wish all of you Mesari, Happy Vaishakhi, Shubha Navabarsho, Bihu, but celebrate all the celebration, staying in home, stay safe, but get connected, be connected with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.